and welcome to the Link Up. Today I have an amazing special guest. She also happens to be my older sister. She is an amazing woman of brown excellence who is an absolute creative genius, and she is all the things. She's an absolute triple threat. She sings, she dances, she acts, you name it, she's got it on lock. Introducing the amazing Bella Kalolo-Suraj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I dance at home.
Except that she taught me how to lock, so she knows how to dance as well. Anyway, thanks, sis, for
You're
coming on
welcome.
the potty. I am so excited to have you here, I guess because today we're going to talk about all things sisterhood and about belonging, what it's like to belong, or to not belong. And we're just going to unpack what that's looked like in our lives.
What's that look like?
What that's looked like.
What that looks like.
This is what I have to deal with all the time. So yeah, we're going to unpack what that looks like. But before we get into it, why don't you give us a bit of background about yourself, like your ethnicity? Just share with all my viewers and listeners, please.
Hello.
Thank you.
All two of you, how are you doing? Talo for lover, my name is Bella Kalolo-Suraj. I'm residing here in Auckland. I am Samoan, Tongan, and Māori, with a bit of Hawaiian thrown in the mix. I whakapapa back to, my iwi is Ngāti Porou. My villages are a lot. Lufi, Leulumoenga, Whalealupo, Tuftafoe, Whalealili. There's some more. There's some more, and there's Safune.
Oh my gosh, my family's from Sisterhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my mum's side.
Nice.
Where else? Please don't hate me out there, family. I know you're like, oh my gosh, she missed out that one, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I did.
Amazing. So, I guess obviously when we tell people we're sisters, they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are like the same, except that we're not blood related sisters. I met you when I was 13. You bought me my first phone.
Nokia phone?
It was a Nokia. It was a purple Nokia brick phone, and it lasted me forever until I got my first paycheck and decided to get a flip phone. Yeah, thanks.
I love flip phone.
But yeah, so we've been through all the things together, and it's funny because obviously I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, your friend Bella, and I'm like, she's not my friend. She's not my friend.
You get annoyed about that,
I do. I mean, because I'm like, she's my older sister.
When you dive into it, you do a deep dive, it's more than that. The connection is more than just saying she's my friend. Yeah,
exactly. So it's been an interesting journey of what we've had to navigate together, the ups and downs of everything, always being called the older one, even though I'm the younger one. But it's okay. Good genes. I mean, we even have matching tattoos.
Yeah, we do.
And it's been interesting because part of what I wanted to talk about was belonging and even being whangai'd. And in a sense, you whangai'd me and my family, and we whangai'd you. And so we adopted each other, and that meant that our families then adopted each other as well. So even for my siblings, they'll always refer to you as their big sister as well. But this connection has been over a couple of decades, and you can see that we've definitely watched each other's journeys along the way, but you've been one of the biggest pillars in my life. And it would be cool to hear, I guess, some of your thoughts around that, and even just the whole process of being whangai'd or taumawhai in our situation.
in our personal
Yeah,
situation.
in our personal situation.
Oh man, I remember arriving in Auckland some time ago, plus GST, and I can't remember, how did we meet?
Shine
Again?
TV
Shine
auditions.
TV.
Yeah.
Did I audition? No,
Yes.
we went along.
You came along and then they asked you to audition, but you couldn't even do it, but you auditioned.
I think I was taking a mutual friend,
Yes.
right? Then mutual friend.
Mm.
And through said mutual friend, we became really good friends.
Yeah.
And then, you end up doing the whole, you kind of push the, push the rules a little bit with people, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, she's like little sister kind of Steve. So when we kind of walked into that realm of being closer than just going, oh yeah, she's just my friend or whatever, it became a sisterhood.
Yeah.
And then it felt great because I was here by myself.
Yeah.
I was here by myself, trying to see what the big smoke had for me.
Yeah. Especially
had to
because you
offer
were
me.
based in Wellington at the time.
Yeah.
And you're originally from Christchurch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so coming up and doing the shows here and there, working for the Body Shop full time.
Always smelling amazing.
Oh, it's only because we moisturized up to here. That was it. That was it. But then having that connection with you and then your family, I felt like I was like, cool, I've got a family up here I can rely on, and I did.
Yeah.
I did. I remember, I think I was staying with Lisa. My awesome older sister, Lisa Corbin, she took me under her wing pretty much.
Very much similar
like
stays.
this.
Yes.
Yeah. So having her and then being able to echo this into our relationship was really precious, but I really needed time because I found it hard. I found it hard by myself here because, it was like, who's got my back?
Yeah.
And then as you kind of temper the hot water with a little bit more cool water, you end up walking into a situation where it's like, actually, I feel at ease.
Yes.
I feel at ease with your family. And then your mum and dad would be like, here's $20 to help you with it. And I'm like, yay, this is so cool. Because I didn't have a car or anything. I had to walk. I walked to my work.
Yeah, and it got to the point where we would pick you up from
you'd
your
pick me up.
airport trips.
Yeah, 100%. You'd pick me up and take me home, or I'd be going straight to yours, and that for me was, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it because I felt like I belonged. And then when you feel that you belong, it's like you're a popo. So you end up kind of making that your home base as I did. So I could freely talk to mum and dad and be like, can you please pick me up from, and they would.
Exactly.
And you would always be in the van.
I know.
The bongo van.
Except in the morning when you'd go and pick up Nons, and I'd be you guys go.
Yeah, that was an early wake-up call.
It was. But I love that mum got to share those moments with you because you were the only one willing to go.
I know. I find myself in that situation a lot because I don't want, or if we were going on a long journey, I literally would be behind you poking your shoulder so you wouldn't fall asleep.
Exactly.
So it was that whole thing of I need to look after you because you look after me so much. But it wasn't
it wasn't a I'm doing this because you do this. It was
not at all. It was a genuine
whole
I want to
enveloping
do this.
Of you're my big sister now.
Yeah.
Like there is no pivoting, there is no movement from this. This is it. Like, and it's for life. And one
it's
day,
for life, 100%.
just all the things we were going to share.
Yeah.
All the milestones and all the highs and lows together.
And all the tellings off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you still learned though?
Wow. Thanks, Big Sis, for coming on my show and exposing me like this. You're just the greatest. But in all fairness, though, I remember when I was younger, probably around 10, and being the oldest girl in a Samoan family, raised pretty traditionally, and in the church, I remember praying, like, God, I just want my own big sister. Like, I want my own person who will look out for me. And then God brought you along, and as they say, the rest is history. But it created this deep connection, which made me feel seen and validated, and like I had someone writing for me always. And like I do dumb stuff, and can you not? I do.
To this day.
I do dumb stuff, and you'd always be hitting me up. And even if you didn't agree with it, you'd be like, that's going to bite you in the butt, but I'm not going anywhere, but you watch. And she's like, and I'm going to tell you I told you so when it comes around. And so it's funny because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, show me your circle and I'll show you who you are, which is really funny because that's what I talked about with Hannah last time. But the thing is, if I show you my circle, a lot of the time, they're the ones keeping me out of trouble because I'm always just going rogue and doing my own lone wolf thing.
If you see her doing that, it's got nothing to do with me. 100%.
And so, you know, as we've grown in this relationship, I do realize it's very unique in that we're really privileged to have something like this that could grow from a genuine heart connection. And I think that's why, and it goes both ways, because at times, like when people are like, oh, that's your friend Bella, or that's your friend Shah, and I'm like, no, and we're just like, no, that's my little sister, that's my big sister. And then they're like, oh, but how are you related? And I was like, who cares? Like,
yeah, it totally goes beyond the whole blood, right?
Yes.
And sometimes, I know they say, the saying is, you know, what is it?
Which saying are we talking about?
Blood is thicker than water.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the saying. But it's not necessarily true, because, like, hello, blood can sometimes be the most toxic people in your life. But in saying that, this connection has been a lifeline.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it has gone both ways in such beautiful collisions of moments and memories and things. I remember, like, like, obviously you've been in the entertainment industry forever, and so I'm really not easily starstruck at all because of all your friends.
If anything,
and
you're
I'm
like, who's that?
Yeah. And a lot of the time people are like, oh, and when I talk about like my older sister and I'm like, oh yeah, Bella this or whatever, and then they meet you and they're like, that's your older sister, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, do you know who she is? And I was like, yeah, Bella. Like, and
Bella, who likes to sleep in.
Yeah, like, but comes when her sister calls her to fill in for an episode.
I know, like
on her day off,
like
even.
Today. No, got you.
But at the same time, like, it's actually so beautiful to see that, like, the way I rely on my blood siblings is exactly the same as I do with you. Like, there is no difference for me when it comes to my, like, I always refer to you and Nons as my older brother and older sister. Like, there's, like, you're the same.
Yeah. It's always been said. Yeah. Always been said that way.
And I think even in terms of what you do, like, you're so, you always have to be so on because of the type of work that you do. Yeah. That in some ways I'm very grounding because I'm like, you still have to look after me.
I know. Oh my goodness. And it's like, I'm not happy about it, but I'll do it. Yeah. You know?
In the best of ways.
Yeah, in the best of ways.
And I think sometimes, especially as we've gotten older, like, sometimes it doesn't necessarily flip, but sometimes the seasons will be where
they change. So it swings over to you, and then it swings over to me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, this is what's happening. Help me out, you know. And
that's the thing, is that's what family does. And the fact that you can do it in a relationship that has been fostered on that level, it really makes us appreciate adoption or adopting into something. Yeah. And even, like, when there have been times where you've been in need or I've been in need, it's literally one call away.
Yeah.
And it's funny because obviously you are currently acting at the moment and doing your acting stees on Shortland Street, being the funniest person on there. For me anyway. I think she's amazing, but I might be slightly biased. But she is amazing.
Yep, you are biased.
Yeah.
It probably keeps out there going. And that's okay. That's your truth.
But even in all of this stuff, it's like I can literally call you and you might be on set and I'm in crisis or something, and I'll call and it's a missed call on your phone that'll come up, and in your break you literally will text me and you're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
And, you know, I might be
Always.
having a mini breakdown, but I can always guarantee that you're going to pick me up. Just like when I was in Oz and you needed me, it was like, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock my time, so it was 11 o'clock here. And because I looked and saw it was you, I was like, yep, what's up? Are you okay? And we have cultivated that because when it comes to family and what we need from each other, we know we're going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
Just like today.
Just like today. I'm like, it doesn't matter that it was my only day off. Like,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
that's fine.
I know you love me so much.
But this is it, because, you know, I can be like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But I will, you
Yes.
know. I'll go with a long face and I'll come out with a long face. No, but yeah, it's the purest love,
Yes.
you know, and it's the honesty that comes with it that really supports it.
And
It's
that's
important.
the thing, like, even I remember when I was 18 and making some interesting decisions, and I decided to, like, stop going to church or just stop having accountability. Sorry, I was 19 maybe. And you were just like, get your butt back to church and get into community or you're going to get it. And I was just like, oh, but I want to do my own thing. And she was like, I don't care what you want to do. Just go to church at least.
Didn't matter that I wasn't going to church.
It didn't.
It didn't matter.
Like, that's the thing. It was like, do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, totally.
But this is the beauty of older siblings. And, like, I am the eldest in my family, and yet having an older sister, like, there is no comparison. Like, it is one of the most
you're not wrong.
beautiful things
Yeah.
to ever have.
Yeah. I have a dope older sister. She's amazing. And she is practically Superwoman.
Yep.
Yeah. She
Right.
holds down her, like, a baking business, studies law, is the homeschool teacher.
Yeah.
And she had 7 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are all amazingly talented.
Yeah, 100%. They are. Yeah.
And so, being as we're talking about being whangai'd or adopting each other, I actually want to pivot a little bit and talk about the whole process of being tamawhai'd or whangai'd or adopted in our Polynesian sense or Māori sense, where we adopt family members or family members. It's family members.
Or even
into-
if a family is without a child or they've been trying for such a long time, then you have the whāngai system in place.
Exactly. And while it's very beautiful, I have seen it abused in a sense,
when it turns.
especially with either extended family or friends, and where they get adopted as, I don't know, young people or children come into the
Babies
country.
even. Yeah.
And they're raised, but they're raised to feel othered or raised to feel different. And it's very obvious when you compare them to their siblings.
Yeah. And workload,
Yes.
you know, when workload is massive for them and not so much for
The biological children. And even in terms of when there are promises to bring you over for a better life.
Yeah.
And
then it's ki ngā inga, which is, you know, that life of hardship, which
And-
no one wants. No one wants that.
And I think what's frustrating for me, having watched this process, is it can be very negative, and also like there is a lack of truth telling, because when you're telling family from the islands, come, you'll have a better life and we'll help you get your papers or whatever, and then they come and they're literally like indentured servants who have to clean the house, can't leave the house, and you hang their papers over them. It's really, really sad to see that, and to know you have family like that. And there are times when you want to call like SIFs on your on your family, and you can't even do that because you're like, well, if they go into the system, what if they get sent back and this is the only place they know?
You teeter on such a, like, it's a horrible situation to be in.
Absolutely.
Right? And then the siblings are divided.
Yes.
Because you can't really reach, or if you're trying to reach out to your sibling that's come over from, you know, Samoa or the islands or anywhere in whangai'd, they'd have a sense of, you want me to do stuff for you? Or, you know, it's never a clear cut, I love you, this is what we're going to do. Do you want to come out to like movies or whatever? Yeah. Because it will always feel like you're trying to whakongu them. You know,
like you're trying
tell them that they have to do something for you, in service for you.
Yes. So it's like, I give you something and you have to pay that back. Whereas, you know, like in our relationship, it's not like that at all.
No.
And I think even in watching certain situations unfold growing up, or even as an adult, and seeing it in these spaces, I find the injustice to just really set my teeth on edge, because I'm like, how can you treat another human being like that?
Especially when you see it firsthand, right?
Yes. And I think for me, I'm like, why do you treat someone like that when you would never treat your own flesh and blood like that? But then,
I don't know. Maybe it is that sense of separation that, you know,
yes,
because biologically you don't necessarily belong to me, but you are still blood, because you're probably from, you know,
an uncle or an auntie or your cousin or something. And I think that's the thing, is like, why say that you'll take them on
and take care of them?
If
not even necessarily take them on, is you when you decide that, you decide to take them in, to love them, to house them, to treat them equally.
This is the heart behind it.
Yeah, that's it's supposed to be. Maybe it's just the words behind it, and then it just is, you already know maybe all along that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's where I struggle with the system, because don't get me wrong, I've seen it done beautifully, where people truly do have what we have, and where you are adopted into a family.
And many do have,
yes.
and I've seen.
And they absolutely cherish those people. They give them the same support as their own biological blood. And so I've seen it done both ways, but it absolutely breaks my heart when I see the negative side to it, because it actually is so rampant in our culture, or cultures, I should say, and Polynesian culture, like, where you're made to feel lesser if you come from the islands, or if you come from wherever, or if you come from the family. And I really hate that, because it's demoralizing.
100%. You know, and I've been in a situation where, you know, I've seen it, and you don't understand it as much when you're younger.
No.
And then, you know, you hear the whaikavingi thrown away around, which is, you know, make someone a servant too. And it's demoralizing. You understand that person sits in that frustration on not being able to get out. It's like a prison.
It is.
You can't get out. You can't talk to anyone about it, you know. And if you're from back in the day, you'd be writing letters that you don't know actually arrive to the people that you want to share the frustration with, you know. And sometimes the answer back to that letter is lokokele. You know, just be strong. You can just hang in there. But you know, for those of us that can't hang in there, then it's like, well, what do you do? Who do you turn to? You know.
and you have no one.
Yeah.
No support system, because the people who you thought you were coming to
Was
are
gonna
the
be a support-
are the support
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And yet, instead of being a beloved member of the family, you are literally a servant who doesn't get paid. So that's called slavery.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you see these young people grow up through their stuff, and then you're told that, oh, I'm not sorting out their papers because they're going to run away as soon as they get them. And I was like, people don't run away from places where they're happy.
Not at all.
Because it's almost self-fulfilling prophecy, because if they do run away, it's because you created that.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
Which I think, that's why the church system is very important in those situations, because then you can go to church, you can then make other friends,
yeah,
and then you can build a trust
exactly.
between other people, and then maybe
which
you're
is
going
really
to someone else's
important for our
house for whangai'd.
Polynesians, because a lot of the time we're like, go home, go school, go work, go church. And if your only way of getting out of home and school and work is church, you're going to jump on that with both hands.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, I do know we're talking about perhaps the more pessimistic side to being whangai'd, but again, it doesn't take away from the beauty of the heart behind it, which is to, when someone can't look after another person in your extended family, you choose to have that person in your family.
Yes. And in that very pure moment, everything is beautiful.
Yes.
It's everything that goes beyond that thought process that can turn.
Yes. And because you add that human element, the experience can turn.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm very deeply saddened, and where I think as people, Pasifika people, we need to do better.
100%, especially when you see it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
When you've lived in it and you understand it to be the truth.
Yeah.
And that's not like everyone's story.
Yes,
You
it
know.
isn't. Because, like, some people who've been whangai'd absolutely adore their
Yeah.
families because they've been treated
Yeah.
like a member of the family.
Yeah.
And they've never been made to feel
Yeah.
othered. And yet, the other side to that is then when someone is made to feel othered, a lot of the time that's from the adults around them. And that obviously seeps into the younger generations and your siblings. And so sometimes those, even your whangai'd siblings don't understand what you've been through.
Yeah.
Because they're like, that didn't happen to us. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, your experience is very different from mine.
Absolutely.
And they may never be able to understand, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But also, it's sad because it's like, you think our life was amazing growing up, yet for this whangai'd individual, it's like, life was hell.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting when you see that these spaces exist. And yeah, it really does sadden me. But I am also really hopeful because I've also seen a lot of good in this space. And
Yeah,
I've seen
me
it
too.
where family members are adopted into the family and they're treated like one of us.
Yeah.
Like they're not made to feel other. They have the same opportunities. They're given the same things. In fact, they're, in some aspects, they're treated better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is, like, you know, there is a flip side to everything. Actually, everything's on a spectrum, really. So, I guess I really wanted to highlight that because we know what it's like to adopt into each other's family. And this was a chosen relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
But some of these situations aren't chosen. Some of these kids have no choice. Some of these family members have no choice. And they come from the islands and they're like, oh, I'm going to have a better life and create a better life for
Land of
everyone.
milk and honey, always.
It always seems greener on the other side. It does, but that's not always the case.
No.
Yeah, and I guess even in talking about belonging, I guess could we again pivot and talk about the fact that you're Māori, and I have seen you growing up be invited to places where you're not Māori enough.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
It's been crazy
Yeah,
to
but
see
also
for me.
not Samoan enough.
Exactly.
You know.
Like, or because you don't.
Or not Tongan in it.
Yeah. Or because you don't have an accent, it's like you don't know, and then you speak and they're like, oh, you know how to speak your language. And it's like, yeah, but why did you judge me based on my accent?
Yeah, totally. But also because I don't I mean, I was born and raised in Christchurch, so you just grow up the way that everyone else speaks.
Exactly.
You don't know anything else, you know. I mean, I got a culture shock when I came up to Auckland, and that is crazy. Really? A brown person feeling a culture shock? Like, it shouldn't even be that way.
Shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but because, back in the days, it was predominantly Palangi.
Yes.
And Christchurch, and then we started taking over. No. And Tau Māori and Tau Hāmoa.
Yeah.
Well, just Pacific and, in general. But yeah, it's crazy to feel so not shut off. It's kind of like it's an enticement to come over to this side, but then stop.
Yeah. Because
you're not enough
of it
to feel like you could come a couple more steps closer.
Because the amount of gatekeeping you've had to deal with, and obviously being your little sister, I get racked up when I hear you treated a certain type of way in these spaces. Yeah. And I'm just like, let me at them. But you always deal with it so graciously and so lovingly. Although I've noticed in perhaps the last 5-10 years, you've really started to like allow yourself to take up space.
Yeah, and I think also because I feel free enough to be able to.
Yeah. And
I've had really amazing people that I put on pedestals, like not in a idolized way. Yeah. But in a very beautiful sense where I can lean on them, and just like how we are whangai'd. Rob and Silaruha, they've been massive like components in everything Tau Māori for me.
Amazing.
Same with Ngā Tapa Black at Whakaata Māori. They have given me a vehicle that I can be as Māori or Samoan as I can be, and I want to understand my Tongan side a little bit more, but I wasn't raised that way. So I am thankful for my reo idols, and not in an idolized way, hey? And then she goes to idols. But they have been
It's okay, I know you still love Jesus.
Yeah, yes, I do, even though I don't go to church. But they've been paramount in my shift in just Tau as a whole. Yeah. As opposed to going, this is where you belong, and Tau Māori, you belong here, and Tau, Hāmoa or Tau Tonga. It's all of it together. So to consolidate all of that together and just be me.
And I love, though, that these people have enabled you to be wholly Māori and wholly Samoan and wholly Tongan. Like, it's not about your quantum percentages or percentage of this and that. It's like, no, I am all of this, and I am fully Māori. Yeah. I'm fully Samoan. Yeah. You can't quantify like that I'm only a quarter of this.
And you can't tell me that I'm not.
Yes.
Because I am.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of seeing you grow and allow yourself to take up space, because before it would be like you'd have gatekeepers and you'd be like, okay, cool, I'll just shift over to wherever you want me to be.
Yeah, but it's for them.
Exactly. And whereas now you're just like, actually, no, I'm me, and I am this, and I'm allowed to belong to this space.
Yes, which I love being a part of Shortland Street is that, if in a scene reading, so we'll have a rehearsal, and so if something pops on the dialogue and I'm like, oh, I could say that in Samoan, then I put it to whoever's directing at that time, and they're like, I love it. What does it mean? And they're like, but I love that they want to embrace. Yeah. And that makes me feel like I can be a true representation
Yeah.
of what a Polynesian woman is on the set.
Yeah.
And on screen.
And I do, like, I absolutely love when I hear you speak Samoan on the show. Because I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's my sister. And it's like, she's speaking Samoan. And it's exciting because it's like mainstream TV is allowing us to be ourselves.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
And
now my curviness is out there for everyone to see.
But that's the thing is, like, we come in all different shapes
100%.
and sizes. And, like, you actually get to showcase that and represent it in such a beautiful way, even though your character is trouble.
She is trouble. She is trouble.
But honestly, I just love that there's someone really real on there. Like, I see me in you when I see you on screen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my sister. Like, you know, and I'm so proud. Like,
Thanks.
I'm super proud.
Yeah.
I always am. Like, you hold yourself with such excellence, and you do so much to the best of your capabilities, and you never hold back. And
Thanks.
I love that about you. I do. I do.
Thanks.
But in terms of belonging, it's just, there are so many times we're made to feel less than and made to feel like you can't. You shouldn't be in this space.
You know what makes me feel less than at work?
What?
My scrubs. My scrubs is not playing. Honestly, that's the only reason why I'm like, you need to just stop eating so you don't feel bloated in your scrubs, because girl. Honestly. But,
I mean, it's fair. Because those costumes are very...
Don't come for me. The two people watching.
But it's fair. Like, obviously, they're made for...
They are not stretchable.
Yeah.
They are not stretchy in the slightest. Honestly, if I bend over... Yeah, 100%. We just shot a scene when we're in lockdown because there's a shooting at work. I was like, if you wanted me to quick get down, you'll be asking for another pants to be run to the set because it's gonna rip. But yeah, I do have to say the scrubs have been keeping my mouth closed. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah.
But I mean, it's I guess not all workplaces are ideal. This is part of the journey of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I love it though. I
know,
love donning the scrubs.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think I'm going to work into the script sometime soon about half a fussy. About just how toit, like a toika, those are.
And I love that because, hello, that's reality.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you work for a place which has uniforms. And you are like, how am I going to fit in this? And you're like, oh, I'm size this. And they're like, oh, we only go up to... And I'm like, mate, get more material and make me adapt.
Can you put some darts in there? Can you put like extra panels? Oh my goodness.
Funnily enough, for our younger sister's wedding, I got a dress made. And
excuse me.
with the original, I was like, oh, it's a bit tight. And then I was like, could you add some darts? Anyway, the final product. It looks amazing, but she added these dope as darts.
Yeah.
Like,
she would have darted and a panel. She would have put panels in.
it just made me feel so chic. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And that's like the stuff you want to be able to do, like, to make you feel better, because
100%.
The sizes are different.
Yeah,
right?
and on Chulin Street, I'm the only plus. plus.
And the thing is, I always have loved how you've carried yourself in that way, because
Thank you so much.
you are bigger, but you own it. And honestly, some of your costumes that you've worn over the years have made me like, I've drooled because I've like, that is
You've
so amazing. It's like,
Can you never do that again? Like, Ooh.
You know what? I'm gonna cut that out.
No, don't cut it
No,
out.
I don't
Do
want-
not cut that out.
I knew you were gonna say
No,
that.
they need the reality.
No.
You need it. Hey, all two of you need the reality.
But yeah, no, it's definitely been so fun to see the things that you come up with creatively, whether you've created your own dresses or whether people have dressed you, like your last singing gig that you did with that red outfit.
Oh yeah,
Oh
John
my
John
gosh.
came
That
through.
was amazing, and it was regal, and it made you look
Tongan. It honestly
Actually,
made
it
me
did.
look
It did.
MT to the days.
But you were stunning in it, and I loved it.
Well, at the first half, I wore blue for Samoa, and then the second half, I wore MMT. That's what I did.
Anyway, thank you so much, Big Sis, for coming in.
You are welcome.
Sharks, we've covered a whole range of things that has related to our sisterhood, and even just pivoted into topics that have affected us from whether we were observers or actively in it.
Yeah, team players.
And have been on our journeys. I guess in terms of final thoughts, do you have anything you'd like to leave with our two viewers you keep talking about?
I'm just going to call you guys John and Alice. Okay? John and Alice. Dear John and Alice. No, I have to say that if you find people that you gravitate towards you and you gravitate towards, keep them. If they're toxic, Kobe. It's really hard to find people that aren't just surface. You know, and you got to. Some people have been through really traumatic times. Upbringing and even probably recently, so it's really hard to peel back the layers of personal trauma. So yeah, I think get in and amongst people that will tautoko you, that will love on you, even if you're having the crappiest day, or even if they are little craps themselves. Like little siblings.
Wow, shots fired somewhere.
No, but you do have to stay the course because they've been put in your life for a reason. Sometimes just for a season. But yeah.
You can't get rid of me, nice.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui. I can't get rid of you.
No.
It's like a growth.
Wow! Wow!
Leave that in there. They are my parting words.
In terms of my final thoughts, I'm gonna be kind.
I was being kind. I was being kind.
No, in terms of my final thoughts, I have absolutely loved and adored our sistership, and it has been one of the best God-given gifts I've ever received in my life. And I know I wouldn't be who I am or where I am or even here if it wasn't for my big sister. We have navigated and traveled through so much, and even within the spaces we've been in, there have been times where it's been about survival.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And we've really had to prop each other up to get to the other side. And a huge part of me overcoming a lot of stuff is because of who you've been to me. So I'm really grateful for you, and I'm so thankful, but it also shows me that sometimes one of my favorite verses in the Bible is in Proverbs, and it talks about how there is a friend who is closer than a brother, and that embodies our relationship so much, because while we may not be blood siblings, we're siblings of the heart and soul and mind and everything.
Yeah.
And it's for keeps, you know? I mean, and I think there's such a beauty and such a purity to that, but I also know that not everyone gets to build those kind of connections, and sometimes it is in the type of day and age we live in to find those connections, because social media and technology has really made it harder to connect.
They've taken away the heart connect.
And we connected prior to it.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to that connection of being in person and allowing yourself to actually journey with a person, not just online, and not just seeing their B-reel of all their best parts. It's actually like we've seen the good, the bad.
Imagine showing the B-reels of us.
The ugly and the horrific.
Oh my God.
But I am so grateful and thankful that God made us sisters, and that we've gotten to share in all the beautiful complexities and all the loving chandles that I've received. But in saying that, you've really allowed me to ground myself and stay humble in so many ways. But I've also been, it's just been an absolute joy for me as well. So that's pretty much our episode on the journey of sisterhood and belonging.
Yeah. But I love you, sir. I love you, sis. And I'll always tell you straight, 100%, even if you're straight. Jokes. But even if I do too, I'm always able to just, ways. I know, to call you. Hey. Oh, the times that have we've been through. Yeah.
But hey, we've been through. Yeah. We've been through the fire and we have been refined and come out stronger. And came out stronger.
Can you not through like that?
I know. It's like, what was that? So thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have any questions or if you want to leave feedback, email us at info@thelinkup.co.nz, or you can DM us via our IG and TikTok social media pages. Other than that, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, under Blue TV or The Link Up NZ. We'll catch you next time. It's all fast. Ka kite.